What does it mean to be truly wealthy? Today, most people would answer with one word: money. We live in a world where wealth is measured by bank accounts, luxury cars, and the size of houses. But over 2,400 years ago, Socrates, one of the greatest thinkers of all time, challenged this idea. He argued that true wealth has nothing to do with money. In fact, he believed that chasing material riches often makes us poorer, not richer, in the things that matter most. Before we dive deeper, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Here, we explore timeless wisdom from Socrates, Stoicism, and philosophy, turning it into practical lessons for modern life. If you want to live a life of meaning, clarity, and inner strength, subscribing will ensure you never miss out. Now let's uncover why Socrates believed that true wealth is not money, and why this ancient idea might be the very key to happiness in our chaotic modern world. Socrates lived during a time when Athens was wealthy and powerful. The city was filled with art, trade, politics, and ambition. People competed for influence, riches, and fame. But Socrates looked around and saw something different. He noticed that many of the richest men in Athens were miserable, consumed by fear, greed, and dissatisfaction. Meanwhile, he himself owned almost nothing. He wore the same simple cloak every day, walked barefoot, and ate modest meals. Yet, he was one of the happiest and most fulfilled people of his time. Why? Because he understood a truth that most people overlook. Wealth measured in money is temporary, but wealth measured in virtue, wisdom, and contentment is eternal. Socrates famously said, "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have." Think about that. How often do we say to ourselves, "If only I had more money, then I would finally be happy. If only I had a bigger house, nicer clothes, or more recognition, then I would feel complete." But as soon as we get what we want, the feeling fades. We want more, and more, and more. This endless chase is what Socrates warned against. He believed the man who needs the least is the richest, because he already carries wealth inside himself. Let's pause here for a reflection exercise. Ask yourself, what is one thing I already have that I once wished for? Maybe it's your job, your family, your education, or simply a roof over your head. Did it bring lasting happiness? Or did your mind quickly move on to wanting something else? This is the trap Socrates saw. External wealth cannot satisfy an inner emptiness. But if you cultivate gratitude, self-knowledge, and virtue, you already live in abundance, regardless of your bank balance. Another reason Socrates rejected money as true wealth was because of dependence. When your happiness depends on money, you become a slave to it. Your choices are dictated not by wisdom, but by fear of loss and hunger for gain. You begin to value people for their usefulness rather than their character. Socrates considered this the greatest poverty of all. To him, freedom of the mind was more valuable than piles of gold. A poor man who thinks clearly and lives with integrity is richer than a wealthy man who is trapped by greed. This is painfully relevant today. Look at our culture. People burning themselves out at jobs they hate, chasing promotions, sacrificing health and relationships, all for the sake of more money. But at what cost? Stress, broken families, and shallow meaning. Socrates would ask, what good is it to gain the world if you lose yourself in the process? To him, real wealth meant cultivating a soul that cannot be corrupted, living with justice, wisdom, and self-control. Consider this story. Imagine two men. One earns a fortune, but he is constantly anxious about losing it. He sleeps poorly, suspects everyone around him, and never feels satisfied. The other lives simply, with modest possessions, but he is content, surrounded by good friends, and free from constant worry. Who is truly richer? Socrates would say the second man, because his wealth cannot be stolen or lost. It lives within him. But Socrates didn't just criticize money. He gave us a clear vision of what true wealth really is. For him, the richest life was one filled with wisdom, understanding yourself and the world. A clear mind is worth more than gold. Virtue, living with justice, courage, and integrity. Money can buy influence, but it cannot buy honor. Contentment, the ability to enjoy what you have instead of constantly craving more. Friendship, surrounding yourself with people of character rather than people of profit. Freedom, being free from greed, envy, and fear. Socrates believed that if you cultivate these things, you become wealthy in the deepest sense, because no one can take them away from you. Thieves can steal your coins. Fortune can vanish overnight. But wisdom, virtue, and contentment belong only to you. Let's bring this to the modern world. How many people today equate wealth with status symbols? Luxury cars, designer clothes, big houses. Social media makes it worse, constantly pressuring us to compare. But look closer. Behind the glamorous pictures, how many people are truly happy? How many are drowning in debt, loneliness, or anxiety? Socrates' message cuts through this illusion. External wealth without inner wealth is just a shiny form of poverty. Here's another reflection exercise. Write down 5 things money cannot buy that truly matter to you. Maybe it's love, wisdom, health, trust, or peace of mind. Now ask, how much time do I spend chasing money compared to cultivating these things? If the balance is off, it may be time to shift your definition of wealth. One of the most powerful examples of Socrates' philosophy was the way he faced death. He had no money, no possessions, and yet he stood before his judges with complete calm. Why? Because he knew his wealth was not tied to the physical world. His treasure was in his soul, in the wisdom he had cultivated, and in the integrity he refused to abandon. This is why, even in poverty, Socrates was rich. And this is why, even in material abundance, many today still feel poor. So, what is the Socratic secret to true wealth? It is this: seek not to fill your pockets, but to fill your soul. Measure your life not by what you own, but by who you become. If you cultivate wisdom, integrity, and contentment, you will discover a kind of wealth that no economic crisis, no thief, and no death can take from you. If this wisdom resonates with you, remember to subscribe to our channel for more timeless insights from Socrates, Stoicism, and philosophy. Together, we'll uncover the ancient lessons that free us from the illusions of wealth and guide us toward a richer, more meaningful life. Because in the end, as Socrates teaches us, true wealth is not money. True wealth is a mind at peace, a soul filled with virtue, and a heart content with what it has. In the end, Socrates reminds us that true wealth is not found in overflowing purses or luxurious possessions, but in the treasures of the soul. Money may buy comfort, but it cannot purchase wisdom, justice, or inner peace. True wealth, Socrates teaches, lies in living with integrity, cultivating self-knowledge, practicing gratitude, and building a mind that is free from greed and fear. A rich man who is enslaved by desire is poorer than a humble man who lives in peace with himself. When we shift our definition of wealth from what we own to who we are, we discover that the most valuable riches have been within us all along. Our virtues, our friendships, our clarity of mind, and our freedom of spirit. This is why Socrates could face death with calm, while so many of the wealthy men of Athens lived in constant anxiety. His life proves that the greatest fortune is not counted in gold, but in a soul that cannot be shaken. And if we live by this wisdom, we too can step into a wealth that is timeless, unshakable, and truly our own.